Hey there, my name is Mark, but if you're seeing me for the first time, then my full name is Mark Allard Will, and I'm a Canadian comic book writer from Saskatoon in Saskatchewan. And I'm bringing you this video today to inform you of my experience as a comic book creator at Calgary Expo. But let's caveat and let's look at what is Calgary Expo. Well, it is what is a Comic-Con, and that is to say a event that is stylized after San Diego Comic-Con being the largest of its kind in the world. It may also be known as a media event where, alongside comic creators, there are also TV, movie, video game, etc. guests and other ephemera from pop culture. It is the second largest such event in Canada, second only to Fan Expo Canada in Toronto. I was set up there as a comic creator guest with all of my books and ephemera alongside my wife Elena and Will. So I had my latest book, Siegfried Dragonslayer, and I had also displayed 3D printed backdrops and displays that I both design and create the dimensions and mathematics of, as well as painting. And I'm bragging because I'm actually very proud of them, because it's a lot of work that goes into it, and for it to look that good, I think that's pretty good work. But that's not the purpose of today's video. What I really want to do is turn on the spotlight and turn it to focus it on Canadian independent or indie comic creators. And why do I want to do so? Because you may go to Calgary Expo and you may go there specifically for the lore of the TV and movie celebrity guests, and there's nothing wrong with that. I don't wish to shame anybody, because there truly is nothing wrong with that, as I say. But maybe you're unaware of the fantastic, rising, upcoming Canadian talent that is all around you. You may be aware of the big Marvel and DC names such as Tom Grummett, who I'm very proud to say is a personal friend of mine who I hold very dear to my heart. But tomorrow's Tom Grummets are the Canadian independent comic creators. So without further ado, let's turn the show over to them.
Hi, I'm Anthony Rutgazer, and I am the writer of books like Heroes of Homeroom C, and my latest book, Chance for Survival, kids books, not so kids books. I've been writing on and off for about 10 years. It's a thing I wanted to do as a kid, and a few years ago, I just was so bored at my day job, I said, I gotta start creating again, and started making comics.
Fantastic. And where can people find your work online?
You can find my work online. If you want to buy my work online, preview it, you can find it at merchtable.store, and you can find my stuff at rutgazer.com. All kinds of whatever I'm doing, I'll probably update something there. And on all social media, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, whatever, Mastodon, you can find me at My Name is Kingdom, all one word, MyNameiskingdom.
Awesome, thank you so much.
My name is Sam Miko. My writing name is Sam Miko. I write young adult fantasy. I have a trilogy that's completed, and I just launched a brand new series. It's going to be 5 books. I'm also a comic artist and comic writer. I release a weekly webcomic called Krampus is My Boyfriend. I got started just by being a super big nerd in high school about anime, and I really wanted to create these super sweeping stories and epics, so I just started doing it. I wrote a lot of fan fiction, and then I started writing my own stories. And when I was 16, I finished my first original novel, which got published in 2013 as The Lake in the Library, and I've been publishing books traditionally and self-published ever since.
Awesome. And how can viewers find your work online?
You can find my books wherever books are sold, in the library system, at a convention, or my website at www.smego.com.
Awesome, thank you so much.
Planscape Comics is a small press publisher out of Vancouver, BC. We started as a collective, and now we are a charitable society. We've been promoting comic arts in BC for 15 years, mostly do anthologies, and now we're also doing individual creator works.
Awesome. And what kind of books do you put out?
anthologies, usually set to different themes. Our newest one is Fantastic Frights, which is an all-ages horror anthology.
And Jeffrey, you're an accomplished cartoonist yourself.
Thank you.
Can you tell us a bit more about your history in comics and how you began?
I mean, I've been drawing comics my whole life. When I got really serious about comics, I started with a web comic called Teach English in Japan. And right now I'm doing short stories about people living in East Vancouver. My latest mini comic is Love in the Time of COVID, which is inspired by my experiences dating during the global pandemic.
Fantastic. And where can people find out more about Cloudscape Comics?
Cloudscapecomics.com. You can find everything right there.
And where can people find out more about Jeffrey Ellis?
Oh, they can find me at jeffreyellis.ca.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Perfect.
Two Gargoyles Comics came to be because a friend of mine and I, and this is my friend Mike here, hello! We wanted to do comics together, and we were very much into the TV show Gargoyles, so we decided we would be two gargoyles making comics. And it just kind of blossomed from there.
Awesome. And what is your latest work?
The latest work is Xanthus #1. It is the story of an alien being that is the essence of joy, that saves a man who is about to end his own life and shows him a way to fight despair and darkness.
And where can people who view this buy your work?
Always check everything out at twogargs.com. That's TWOGARGS.com, and all the buying information is there.
I'm Chase Cantor. I am a comic book writer and sometimes color artist. And I write and work on this series called The Saga of the Jack of Spades. It came out late in 2019. Volume 1 came out late in 2019. It got picked up by Renegade Arts. And this weekend is the debut of our next installment into the series, Alice of Spades, which is kind of a deep dive into playing card and tarot mythology, kind of a swashbuckling fantasy adventure series, lots of fencing and fighting, and it's kind of a lighthearted, tongue-in-cheek adventure romp.
Fantastic. Where can viewers find out more about your work?
You can find us all over social media. You can Google The Saga of the Jack of Spades or visit us at aliceofspades.com. You'll always be able to pick up our books through our website, and we do card decks and prints and stickers.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thanks much.
I'm Julien Pilon. I'm a Victoria-based cartoonist. I got into comics. I've been drawing since I was a child. It started with Ninja Turtles and all of that fun stuff while watching cartoons. And over time, as I grew up, I loved comic books. I never really thought I would end up doing it. But as I got a little bit older, started getting a little bit better, more confident, and I joined the Monsterella crew on Vancouver Island, did a few anthologies, and got bitten by the bug, if you will. And it's kind of been pretty much a downhill, downhill roll where one thing turned into two, turned into three, turned into four. I've got a really amazing series that I'm currently working on with a writer by the name of Garth Mathens called Witch Creek High. We just finished our second book. We're going to be doing a 5-story arc. I'm also working with Lev Gleason recently on various Neiman Comics Daredevil, Young Robin Hood coming up, and a couple other titles. And it's great, living the dream, you know.
Fantastic. And where can people find your work and perhaps purchase it online?
Sure. My website is grumpycartoonist.com. That's where you would you'll find links to absolutely everything you could possibly want to get, from prints to comics to there's a few links also to webtoons if you want to read my books for free. And if you want to obviously support, by all means purchase one, but no obligation. And my Instagram is Grumpy Cartoonist, or at Grumpy Cartoonist. I post whatever I'm working on, and it's a great way to interact with folks who want to check out what I'm doing, or send me a message, chat, anything like that.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
No worries. Thank you.
Hello, my name's Ryan Tenney Owen. I'm a visual artist from Calgary, Alberta. I got into comics kind of
out of nowhere, actually. I basically graduated from college, and my friend Kat Summers was working on like a really specific project talking about dementia and her maternal grandmother. And from there, basically came to me asking about dialogue and kind of how to like formulate characters and stuff like that. And when we started working on it more, we started realizing that there was actually a lot that we could do with that story. So we started pushing forward into bigger projects and kind of started following Alexander to events and showing him the comic as we were making it, and that's how we got involved with Renegade Arts Entertainment. And then from there, we've been working on the comic for like 6 years.
Fantastic. And tell us a little bit more about Pass Me By.
So Pass Me By is a rural Canadian tragedy about an old man dealing with early onset dementia. His past, old man dealing with early onset dementia, and his past touring the glam rock band. So in the first book, you kind of witness him dealing with what he forgets to order at the diner every day and how the community of support exists around him. And then in the sequel, we jump back to 1973 to his past touring the glam rock band. As we're moving forward with the series, which is going to be about 5 books, we're kind of going into talking about Ed's estranged granddaughter and dealing with intergenerational queer identity and kind of coming to terms with loss and discovering your family and where you come from.
Fantastic. And where can viewers find out more about Pass Me By?
So you can find out things about Pass Me By through Renegades Arts Entertainment's website. You can also follow me on social media at @RDannyOwen on Instagram, and then cats.simmers at Instagram as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
My name's Scott Ford. I'm an indie comic creator from Winnipeg, Canada. I started making comics maybe 10 years ago or more, but I started doing this full time over the past 5 years. I do a lot of original art prints, some fan art prints, and I love making my own comics. I love making weird stories, using different styles, trying to make strange narratives and unconventional formats for telling stories in comics. I love making worlds, and I love creating characters and combining those things together in interesting ways.
Fantastic. And undoubtedly in the video I'm going to be making here, I'm going to be singing the praises of Arkland. Can you tell the audience a bit more about Arkland and how that came to be?
Yeah, so Arkland is a big, fun, colorful sci-fi fantasy adventure story. It came about as a combination of dozens of different ideas. I wanted to make a comic with robots in it. I wanted to make a comic in it with characters with big swords, with vast landscapes, with alien creatures and ancient technology and unknown alien presence. And these were all separate ideas. And then one day I realized, what if I combine all these together into one story? And I started to connect those dots into a single narrative. And that's how Arkland came about. And I realized it could become this big cinematic story with just a lot of different characters, a lot of different colorful environments, and just fun action happening all the time. It was a lot of work, but it was a lot of fun to make.
Fantastic. And where can viewers find out more about your work or perhaps purchase online?
So if you go to scottafordart.com, you can find more about Arkland. You can find more about a lot of my other comics. I've done a little bit of video games. I've done some weird crafts and things like that. You can find that all on my website. And I also have a lot of free web comics on there that you can just read straight on my website as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me. I really appreciate you taking the time to watch the introductions from those Canadian independent comic creators. If you take the time on them, as I say, I promise you they will be the next Tom Grummets and the next big names at the big comic houses. So what was my experience of Calgary Expo? Well, I had a wonderful time. I got to meet comic creators and fellow writers, illustrators, and otherwise authors who I have otherwise only known online for the past several years, and getting to meet somebody in person and really get to know them at that intricate level that you can only do in person is such a wonderful thing that is irreplaceable. And I truly thank everybody who gave me their time, and I truly thank you for sharing that irreplaceable space and time with me. Thank you. That was wonderful. And the other thing was, I really got to share in other people's work, which as a reader as well as a creative, I love that. I love getting to see people's work, and thank you for sharing it with me. The other experience was that it left me very thankful for the new fans and new readers that I gained. My experience was that as a comic book creator, we were along the wall where most people are passing along, but I was personally directly opposite an end cap from Artist Alley, where there was one of those what I will call a grey area artist. And what I mean by that, without getting too controversial, is that is an artist or an illustrator, in my opinion, who is taking the intellectual property of a registered company, one that they know has successful properties, and in this case it was manga and anime, and they simulate those characters as posters in their particular art style. And while yes, they do create that artwork and do it in their own style, they are, in my opinion, knowingly doing so to gain something from that fandom, which is normally to gain a customer base. And maybe there's nothing wrong with that. But the point I'm getting to, and taking maybe the long way around to, is to say that I appreciate everyone who came to me and brought a book when just opposite me is something that's easier to get into. Because something that's established, something that the world knows as a fandom, is easier to get into than something original and independent. So truly, from the bottom of my heart, if you were one of those people that came by and took the chance to invest, which it takes your time to invest in something original and independent, then truly thank you. That touches my heart for doing so. And I also wish to thank Kevin Boyd. Kevin is a huge grassroots supporter of Canadian comics, from the big guys to us small independent guys. He is the founder and proprietor of the Comic Book Lounge in Toronto, and he is also the founder and one of the board members of the Joe Shuster Awards. But most importantly for today's story, he is the comic book guest curator for the Fan Expo chain for Informa, which includes Calgary Expo. So I wish to thank Kevin for taking a chance on me and making me a comic book guest and one of the featured comic book guests, because there are people such as my friend Tom Grummett, who's a huge name. Death of Superman is one of his titles. And to put me as an independent guy alongside those names, honestly, thank you, Kevin. Really appreciate it. And I also wish to thank all of the wonderful volunteers of the show who kept coming by, making sure all of us comic creator guests were fed, watered, and comfortable. That's no mean feat. That is not minimal effort, and I appreciate that. Honestly, I do. So in closing, what I also wish to add is that if you've enjoyed this video, please consider giving me your support, which you can do through some of the links below. There is a link to my store where, if you wish to, you can buy some of my work and have it shipped direct to you, and it will be signed direct to your door. But I appreciate that my work won't be for everybody. So if you're feeling that way, well, there's also a link to my Ko-fi where you can just donate to support my work. When my wife Elaine and I were in Calgary, we also had a small catastrophe where our vehicle that we had travelled there in was not just written off, but essentially mechanically destroyed. I won't go into the full topic, but what essentially happened is we had parked legally on a quiet, very unassuming street in Calgary to go to an industry mixer that followed the Saturday of Calgary Expo. We returned to find our car surrounded by cop cars, and it was folded almost into a 1 foot thick solid wooden telegraph pole. It's essentially an ongoing investigation. But what seems to have happened is there were some youths who had driven a car at high speeds down a residential street and lost control, veering into the back of our parked vehicle. So we're feeling very lucky that we weren't in the vehicle at the time, because the inertia of hitting the lamppost like that wouldn't have been nice. And that did shoot it into that lamppost and did tear the axles. And this shows the kindness, the true heartfelt kindness of Saskatchewan folk. As soon as we let people know about that, friends that we knew who were fellow Saskatoonians who were at the show, everyone offered us a ride back to Saskatoon. And therefore we wish to thank everybody that did that from the bottom of our hearts. You truly are the pride of Saskatoon. You show what we are and what we're made of and why we're so kind. And we also wish to say thank you to Murray Qualley, who we took up on the offer of the ride home. You've been a huge supporter of Canadian comics for so long, both the big guys and the independents, and we've known you for a long while, although in passing maybe. So we truly appreciated the opportunity to get to know you a lot more thoroughly and to get to know you personally on that long drive back from Calgary. It was a wonderful experience and you're just truly a wonderful person, so thank you for that. That being said as well, even though we were given a ride back, there are additional costs and expenses incurred with that kind of disaster, let's say. So if you do feel like supporting my work, perhaps buying a copy of my work and having it signed and shipped to your door, or just donating through my Ko-fi, I will let you know that I fully appreciate it. It was our in-laws' car and we feel dreadful about it because they did a kindness to us by allowing us to use that larger vehicle to accommodate all of our stock to get out there. But luckily it is fully covered on a full package policy, and there was a witness to the fact that the driver of the offending vehicle was 100% at fault. So we are feeling thankful for that as well. So in closing, thank you very much. I really enjoyed Calgary Expo, and I really enjoyed meeting you, the fans and readers. I really enjoyed getting to meet my fellow creators. And have a wonderful evening or a wonderful day, whatever time you find yourself watching this video. Thank you.